Alien woman abducts human man, not for interrogation, but for protection. Kalen Myers was having a spectacularly average evening, which, considering the state of his kitchen, was a small miracle. He had just lost an argument with his microwave, an outdated model that insisted on vaporizing anything vaguely soup-like, and was now sulking on his porch, sipping lukewarm tea out of a mug shaped like a narwhal. Above him, the stars blinked in quiet mockery. He was mid-sip when the sky exploded. A beam of cerulean light slammed into the ground 3 feet in front of him, scattering dirt, grass, and a very confused raccoon. Before Callan could finish the sentence that began with, "What the foo?" and ended with something very unprintable, he was lifted off his porch, mug and all, into the sky like a cartoon abductee. The last thing he saw before unconsciousness was the microwave blinking though. He woke to the sound of hissing. Not snake hissing, but the angry hydraulic kind, like a spaceship exhaling judgmentally. Everything was blue and silver and shiny in ways that defied IKEA logic. The room smelled faintly of ozone and suspicious mint. Callan groaned, rolled over, and immediately regretted it. The floor was soft, too soft. It sighed beneath him like a disappointed cloud. A shape moved in the periphery of his vision, tall, sleek, and unnervingly graceful. He turned his head and saw her. She looked human, almost. But her ears were long, tapering into elegant curves that rose above her head like stylized blades. Her eyes shimmered with a violet glow, not like lenses or contacts, but like her irises had galaxies brewing inside. Her armor was sleek, iridescent, and completely impractical by Earth fashion standards. Callan, still horizontal and groggy, managed one word. "Hi." She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she tilted her head, studying him the way one might examine a toaster that suddenly began quoting Shakespeare. Then she spoke, her voice a smooth blend of silk and suspicion. "You are smaller than I expected." "Well," Callan croaked, "I was trying to bulk up, but you know, carbs." A pause. Her head tilted the other way. "You joke?" "Only when I'm terrified." She stepped closer, crouching to meet his eye level. Her fingers brushed the side of his face, leaving a warm trail. Callan tried not to flinch. This was, quite possibly, the weirdest date he'd ever been on, and he'd once gone out with a woman who brought her taxidermy projects to dinner. "My name is Vyra," she said. "You were about to be hunted. I intercepted the scan." "Hunted?" Callan echoed. "You mean, like space deer?" "Yes. You are classified as a Class 3 exotic, worth considerable prestige if taken alive, more if dissected." He sat up so fast he bonked his head on the low-hanging light fixture above. It hissed at him and retracted, offended. Okay, so let me get this straight. I was about to be abducted by aliens, but you, who are also an alien, abducted me first to save me from being... Vyra stood. "Essentially," Callan blinked. "Okay, cool. That's great. Do I get a safe word?" She ignored that. "I claimed you." "Excuse me?" "In our culture, a claim is a declaration of protection. It overrides hunt protocols. You are now considered mine." Callan blinked again, slower this time. "That sounds both comforting and weirdly possessive." "It is both." There was a long, awkward silence during which Callan debated whether to cry, scream, or attempt interpretive dance. Instead, he stood, legs wobbly, knees whispering mutiny, and looked around the chamber. No windows, no doors, just gleaming walls and an AI voice occasionally whispering cryptic things like "sublight engine recalibrating" and "don't tap the stabilizer core." "Okay," he said eventually, "so what now? You gonna keep me in a glass box like a pet hamster or—" Vyra gestured, and a section of the wall shimmered, revealing another chamber, warmer, filled with cushions, and what looked suspiciously like a coffee machine. "You will stay aboard my ship until I determine your safety is assured. You may explore, within reason. Touch nothing glowing. Solid rule. And," she added, turning back to him, "do not attempt to contact Earth. Your signal would be intercepted immediately." Callan sighed. "Guess I'll cancel my dentist appointment." He followed her into the next room, which smelled more like citrus and less like weaponized peppermint. The cushions were suspiciously comfortable. A small table slid out of the wall, presenting a selection of brightly colored cubes. "Food," Vyra said. "Space sushi? Nutri-blocks. Balanced, flavor-optimized." Callan poked a cube. It jiggled. He poked it again. It jiggled back aggressively. "Do they bite?" Vyra didn't answer. He picked one up, sniffed it, and took a cautious nibble. The flavor exploded like mango and peanut butter got into a fistfight. "Oh wow," he muttered. "This is either amazing or I'm hallucinating." "You will acclimate. So, Vira," he paused, chewing thoughtfully. "Why save me? Why break your alien rules for some random human dude with a questionable metabolism?" Vira didn't answer immediately. She sat across from him, one leg folded neatly, posture regal. "I don't know. Not super reassuring. There is something different. I do not yet understand it. Maybe it's my winning personality? Unlikely. Fair." Another pause. The ship hummed gently around them, as if amused. Kalen glanced at the ceiling. "Hey, do you have a name?" Vira looked at him. "I told you, I am Vira. No, I mean the ship. You can't fly a space vessel without naming it. That's like cosmic law." She hesitated. "It is designation X473 Prime." Kalen squinted. "That is the saddest name I've ever heard. From now on, I'm calling it mostly functional." Vira arched a brow. "It is entirely functional." "Yeah, but that light fixture hissed at me." The AI voice chimed in. "He started it." Kalen dropped his cube. "Okay, talking ceiling. I'm officially in space." Vira didn't smile. Not exactly, but her long ears twitched slightly, and that galaxy light in her eyes softened. Kalen leaned back, chewing on another suspiciously delightful cube. "So, what's the plan?" Vira glanced toward a console that displayed swirling star maps and blinking red triangles. "We run, we hide, we survive." Kalen lifted his mug, still somehow intact. "To surviving," he said, "and to possibly not being dissected." Vira nodded. "A noble goal." The ship rumbled, lifted into sublight, and vanished into the void, carrying a human with no idea what he was doing, and an alien who wasn't entirely sure why she cared. Kalen discovered 3 things about space within the first 48 hours aboard Mostly Functional. 1. Gravity is not to be trusted. 2. Doors in alien ships don't open unless they want to, and they don't care how urgently you need to pee. And 3. Vira had absolutely no patience for sarcasm before breakfast. The training room, as Vira called it, looked like a gym if a gym had been designed by someone who thought pain was a nutritional requirement. Everything pulsed faintly, walls, floors, even the equipment, and none of it seemed to have a clear function unless that function was make the human fall down a lot. "You must learn to defend yourself," Vira said, tossing him what looked like a baton made of pure light. Kalen caught it, immediately dropped it, and then tried to pretend he meant to. "Sure, great, because the first thing people ask when they meet me is, 'Hey, can you wield a glowing stick of doom?'" Vira didn't answer. She just activated her own weapon, a curved blade that seemed to sing when it moved, and assumed a stance that suggested she'd already calculated 12 ways to make him cry. Kalen held the baton like it might bite. "Just so we're clear, I did not sign up for Space Ninja Boot Camp. You are claimed. If I die, your protection ends. You must be able to run, or distract." "Oh, I can definitely distract. Watch this." He tripped over his own feet, fell backward, and knocked over a training sphere that activated and immediately began pelting him with small but impressively aggressive foam projectiles. Vira blinked. Effective. After what felt like several eternities and at least one pulled hamstring, the training session ended with Kalen sprawled on the floor, making snow angels in his own sweat. Vira offered him a hand. He accepted, then refused to let go for an extra second, mostly because standing hurt. Later in the mess hall, which was still just a fancy name for a metallic room with a snack wall, Kalen discovered that the ship's AI had developed an interest in Earth media. "I downloaded several human entertainments from your neural echo," it said. "My neural what now?" Kalen asked, mouthful of a cube that tasted oddly like cheddar popcorn. "Your residual brainwaves. They radiate passively, like microwave radiation, only more chaotic." "Oh good, so my brain is a leaky Wi-Fi router?" "I compiled your entertainment preferences. Would you like to view Hamster Cop: The Reckoning?" Kalen froze. "I never watched that, not since college. How deep did you go?" "Deep enough to know about your crush on that math teacher in 7th grade. Vira walked in at that moment and arched a single elegant brow. "Hamster Cop? It's a long story," Kalen muttered, "involving betrayal, algebra, and possibly cheese." Vira took a seat beside him, setting down her own tray of Nutri-Blocks with the same solemnity she used when discussing death warrants. "We approach a way station," she said. "I must resupply. You will stay aboard." Kalen frowned. "Why can't I come with?" "Because your face is very punchable to my people." Rude. Also true. The way station loomed ahead on the main view screen. a sprawling structure of spinning rings and mismatched architecture that looked like a junkyard and an art gallery had merged during a thunderstorm. Vira prepped for docking. Kalen tried to help by pushing buttons until he got zapped. The AI suggested he observe passively. When Vira left the ship, she activated every security protocol the vessel had. Kalen was fairly certain the coffee machine tried to scan his DNA before letting him near it. Alone, he wandered the ship's library, a glowing chamber filled with data crystals and weirdly emotional ambient music. He picked a crystal at random and stuck it in the reader. A hologram flickered to life, a documentary titled How to Groom Your Warp Beast Without Losing a Limb. An hour later, Kalen had learned 3 things. Warp beasts were terrifying, alien grooming customs were unnecessarily dramatic, and he definitely needed more snacks. Vira returned sooner than expected. She wasn't alone. Trailing behind her was a small, boxy robot with too many limbs and a screen for a face that displayed a perpetual expression of mild panic. "This is Bleep," Vira said. Bleep waved. "Hello, I am an obsolete model. Please do not throw me away." Kalen blinked. "Did you rescue him from a robot shelter?" He was being used as a chess timer. "Cruel. I admired his tenacity." Bleep beamed. Or at least his screen turned yellow and displayed a smiling stick figure. "I also sing. Badly." Kalen immediately liked him. Over the next few days, Kalen adjusted. He trained poorly. He studied inconsistently. He ate strange food and made friends with a nervous robot and a coffee machine that grudgingly respected him after he fixed its drip valve. And Vira watched, quietly. One evening, after Kalen had successfully deflected a training drone without breaking something important, Vira invited him to the viewing deck. The stars stretched in endless silence, wheeling across the black like brushstrokes on glass. Kalen leaned on the railing, sipping a warm blue beverage that tasted like cinnamon and rebellion. "You're not what I expected," Vira said. "Let me guess, you expected a screaming, useless human." "No, I expected someone afraid." Kalen took another sip. "Oh, I'm terrified. I just mask it with humor and emotional instability." Vira's ears twitched. "It works." They stood there for a while, not speaking. Outside, the stars burned quietly. Kalen glanced at her. "So how long can we keep running?" Vira didn't answer right away. "As long as we must. Until they stop chasing. Or until I end it." "That's ominous." "True." Kalen nodded. "All right then. I'll keep practicing my stick swinging. Maybe one day I'll even manage to hit something other than myself. Statistically unlikely. Your faith in me is overwhelming." Vira looked at him, that same unreadable expression on her face. "You are not useless," she said, "merely inefficient." Kalen smiled. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all week." Bleep rolled into the room and played a kazoo version of the Star-Spangled Banner. No one asked him to. Kalen raised his mug. "To survival and questionable companions." Vira raised hers, "and to not being dissected." The stars spun on. The ship drifted deeper into unknown regions, and somewhere in the dark, their pursuers drew closer. Kalen was 90% sure the door had insulted him. He stood in front of it, arms crossed, one eyebrow twitching. "Say that again, you overgrown waffle iron." The door remained silent, glowing faintly in a condescending shade of chartreuse. Behind him, Bleep hovered with a diagnostic wand in nervous energy. "I do not recommend arguing with the door. It holds grudges." Kalen sighed and turned away, muttering, "You threatened to rewire one interface, and suddenly you're the villain." It had been 6 days since Vira's last resupply mission, and the routine aboard Mostly Functional was beginning to wear thin. Kalen's training sessions continued to be a spectacular blend of enthusiasm and physical comedy, and even Vira had stopped flinching every time he dropped a weapon. Progress, in a way. Vira had been quieter than usual. Not the cold, stoic kind of quiet. That was standard issue with her, but the kind of quiet that hummed with preoccupation. She was in the command chamber more often, poring over encrypted transmissions and long-range scans. When Kalen finally asked her what was up, she answered without looking away from the console. "The Council is narrowing our corridor. We must change trajectory." Kalen nodded sagely, as if he knew what that meant. Cool. Just a quick question. Do you mean corridor like a hallway, or corridor like a space death funnel?" Vira tapped a sequence on the console, projecting a series of star maps, red lines, and flashing triangles that looked like they were playing a very aggressive game of interstellar minesweeper. "The second one," she said. "Ah, excellent." Bleep rolled in at full speed, slammed into a chair leg, and spun in a dignified circle. I have received a transmission. Vira narrowed her eyes. From whom? Unknown. Encryption level annoying. Kalen leaned over. Can you play it anyway? I can do anything poorly. The ship's speakers crackled to life, followed by a garbled mess of static, distortion, and what sounded suspiciously like a jazz saxophone being murdered by a modem. Then a voice emerged. Vira, you traitorous eel, you can't hide in backwater dust lanes forever. We're coming. The transmission cut off. Kalen blinked. Okay, so friendly message? Vira didn't answer. She stared at the console like it owed her money. Kalen looked at Bleep. Was that Chiron? Bleep's screen flickered with a stick figure sweating profusely. Statistical probability. Yes, emotional reaction, deep, existential dread. Vira finally spoke. She is accelerating. We must move. They jumped into faster-than-light travel an hour later. The ship's engines hummed in anticipation, then roared into silence as space folded around them like origami made of nightmare geometry. Kalen, meanwhile, clung to his seat and recited all the lyrics to the Fresh Prince theme song just to stay grounded. Their destination, the outpost of drifting echoes. Kalen had questions, like, why is it called that, and do we have to go there? Vira answered only one, because it is a place of whispers, hidden knowledge, unsafe alliances. Great, Kalen muttered. My 3 favorite things, right behind haunted closets and tax season. The outpost came into view 3 jumps later, a sprawling, asymmetrical monstrosity that looked like it had been built by a committee of drunk architects arguing over which direction was up. As they docked, a mechanical voice welcomed them with a message that looped 4 times too many. Welcome to the outpost of drifting echoes, where secrets come to rest. And occasionally scream. Kalen looked at Vira. Did we check the Yelp reviews on this place? The corridors inside the outpost were crowded with beings of every shape, size, and number of limbs. Kalen trailed Vira, trying very hard not to stare at a creature that resembled a floating potato with teeth. Their destination was a bar, or possibly a weapons depot disguised as a bar, run by a former huntress named Takar. She had 1 cybernetic eye, 2 mechanical wings, and the aura of someone who'd once punched a comet for looking at her funny. Vira? She said, nursing something green and smoking. Didn't think you had the guts to show your ears here. I need information, Vira replied. About Chiron, about the Council's reach. Takar grinned, revealing way too many teeth for comfort. And I need a vacation on a planet with fewer lava storms. Guess we're both disappointed. Kalen cleared his throat. Hi, I'm Kalen, human, possibly dinner if negotiations go badly. Takar's cyber eye scanned him. So this is the reason you're persona non blasta? Pretty much, yeah. She laughed, then tossed a data crystal onto the table. That'll tell you where she is, but you didn't hear it from me. Vira took the crystal. Thank you. Takar shrugged. You're either brave or stupid, probably both. My kind of problem. As they left, Kalen whispered, I think I like her, in a terrified sort of way. Back aboard Mostly Functional, Vira examined the data. She's heading for the Rings of Tikar, she said. That sounds either beautiful or deadly. Yes, Kalen sighed, of course. The ship prepared for launch. Bleep rolled past, still humming ominous jazz. Kalen flopped into his seat. So we're going to confront the most dangerous person you know in a region of space notorious for weird physics and high mortality rates? Yes. Cool. Super chill. I'm gonna pack extra socks. Vira looked at him. Why? No idea. Feels like the kind of place where losing socks is a real threat. The engines hummed, stars tilted, the ship jumped. Kalen closed his eyes and muttered, Please let this be one of those epic stories where the sidekick doesn't die tragically in Act 3. From the hallway, Bleep's voice called out, I volunteer as the tragic sidekick. Kalen groaned. Too late. I called dibs. The Rings of Kar were every bit as chaotic as the travel brochure had promised, which was impressive, considering the brochure had mostly been a crumpled warning label on a crashed freighter's hull reading, Do not approach without at least 3 backup lives. Mostly Functional arrived on the edge of the system with a cheerful bloop from the navigation console and an equally uncheerful growl from the reactor core. Kalen was strapped into the co-pilot chair, surrounded by blinking lights and a checklist that included items like calibrate spatial shields and hope for the best. Vira brought the ship into orbit around a gas giant, where the rings shimmered with colorful physics-defying particles, and what looked suspiciously like fireworks, or the interstellar version of small aggressive ghosts. Kalen squinted at the screen. Is it just me, or do those clouds look like they're glaring at us? They are charged with antimatter, Vira replied. Great. Angry space clouds. Add that to my list of irrational fears, right between sentient haircuts and buffet shrimp. They coasted toward a hidden rebel station embedded in the densest part of the ring. It was barely visible until they were practically on top of it, disguised beneath a reflective cloaking field, and what Bleep described as a very convincing illusion of an abandoned fast food joint. Docking was rough. The station's interface grunted something in a dialect Kalen swore sounded like grumpy gargling. Vira replied in fluent static, and the doors hissed open with the tired air of a reluctant librarian. Inside, the station was dim, metallic, and alive with quiet motion. Beings moved in hushed urgency. Many were of Vira's kind, though they cast wary glances in her direction. None looked surprised to see her, but they didn't exactly throw a welcome party either. Vira guided Callan through the winding corridors, avoiding direct stares. At one junction, a tall warrior with jade armor and arms like hydraulic pistons muttered, "So that's the human." Callan offered a small wave. "Hi. Yes, I'm the endangered species. Please don't collect me." They met the leader of the outpost in a chamber lit by pulsing orbs and what might have been space incense. Her name was Zelen, a veteran with a cybernetic spine and a presence that made Callan stand straighter without being told. She greeted Vira with a curt nod, then turned her gaze on Callan like she was evaluating a particularly unconvincing life form. "He's breathing," she said. "That's something. Some days even that's optional," Callan replied. Vira got straight to the point. "We need shelter. Chiron is near. The council escalates." Zealand motioned for them to sit, her metal fingers tapping against the table. "You've broken every tenet of the Huntress Creed, Vira. You're lucky I respect dramatic exits, but bringing a human here? You've painted a target on this station. He's under my claim. He's also leaking stray neural frequencies like a broken thought lantern." "I am right here, you know," Callan said, raising a hand. Zelen ignored him. "Do you understand what happens if the Enforcer finds you here? This station is full of exiles, not warriors. Most of us haven't held a blade in years. I myself retired to raise moss beasts. I miss my moss beasts." Vira remained calm. "I don't expect you to fight. Just give us a day, enough time to recalibrate our trajectory." Zealand sighed. "Fine, but if your human causes a diplomatic incident, I'm feeding him to the zero-G spiders." "No argument from me," Callan said. "Honestly, might be the most peaceful rest I've had since you people beamed me off my lawn." They were assigned quarters. Callan's room had gravity that changed direction every 10 minutes, and a couch that was either sentient or extremely judgmental. He tried to sleep, but his thoughts wouldn't stop playing worst-case scenario bingo. After the fifth gravity flip and second direct stare from the ceiling vent, he got up and wandered. He found Vira in a viewing chamber, standing before a transparent wall looking out into the stormy rings. He walked up beside her, silent for a while. "She hates me," he said eventually. "She doesn't hate. She assesses. It's less personal. You know, that's exactly what my old boss used to say, right before firing people." Vira's expression didn't change, but her voice softened. "She believes you're a risk. Are you starting to believe it too?" "No, that's actually very comforting. Statistically, it shouldn't be." They stood in silence again. The rings glowed and shifted, throwing shimmering reflections across Vira's face. Callan almost said something poetic, but then Bleep's voice came through the comm with all the subtlety of a panicked toaster. "Intrusion alert. Definitely not a drill. Definitely bad." Vira was already moving before Callan finished blinking. Alarms flared across the station. She pulled him along as she ran, barking commands to the station's rudimentary defense grid. Chiron had arrived. Her ship cut through the storm like a blade through mist, dwarfing mostly functional and bristling with weapons that looked far too dramatic to be legal. The outpost scrambled to respond. Flickering shields, turret activation, and one particularly brave exile throwing something that looked suspiciously like a plunger at the hull. Inside, Chiron's voice echoed over open comms, smooth, cold. "Vira, you were always sentimental. I'm here to end that." Zealand called back. "You're trespassing on an independent zone. Leave or we engage." Chiron didn't reply. She fired. The station rocked violently. Kalen nearly slammed into a wall. Vira caught him by the arm and shoved him toward an escape corridor. Go! Get to the ship. What about you? I'll follow. Go now. Kalen hesitated just long enough to feel guilty, then bolted. Bleep was already waiting near Mostly Functional, covered in ash and shouting updates. I downloaded the station's security feeds, and also a cooking show. Priorities got mixed. Kalen prepped the ship. Vira arrived moments later, breathless but uninjured. Zellen's voice buzzed through the comms one last time. She's drawing fire. We'll hold her as long as we can. Go. Vira hesitated at the controls. You okay? Kalen asked. She was my commander. I get it. No, you don't. He looked at her then nodded. You're right, but I still get why you chose different. They launched just as the station was engulfed in a shockwave. Not destroyed, not yet, but damaged. Chiron didn't chase immediately. She circled, waited. Vira stared at the shrinking image of the outpost on the screen. Her ears twitched once subtly. Then she turned forward. We need allies, she said. I thought we didn't trust anyone. Now we trust necessity. Bleep beeped. So, do we get to meet more people who hate us? Almost certainly, Vira said. Kalen sighed and leaned back. Good. I was worried we were running out. Kalen adjusted his suit collar for the 7th time and muttered something unprintable under his breath. It itches. Why does advanced alien tech still itch? Is this part of the intimidation aesthetic? You insisted on ceremonial fabric, Vira said without looking up from the console. I warned you it was woven with reflective nanothreads. Yeah, well, I didn't realize nanothreads meant microaggressions. Bleep word by, polishing a ceremonial spear that he had no business holding. I have attached confetti dispensers. Celebration mode engaged. This is not a celebration, Vira said. That's what makes it funny. They were approaching the orbital arena of Kezari, an ancient construct where grievances among the Huntress orders were settled by combat, debate, or, according to one footnote, interpretive dance. Kalen was rooting for debate. Maybe mildly passive-aggressive PowerPoint. The council had forced Vira's hand. Kieran's attack on the outpost had pushed too far. For the first time in centuries, Vira invoked the right of challenge, a call for open confrontation under sacred law. To the shock of literally everyone with a pulse, it had been granted. Now they drifted toward a battleground shaped like a blade piercing the void. Callan wasn't expected to fight. He wasn't even supposed to attend. But Vira insisted. She wanted him there. Not because he was a tactical asset, not because he could suddenly wield plasma batons like a pro, because he mattered. To her. The arena's interior was a cathedral of echoes and violet flame. Council members floated above on anti-grav thrones, each one a silent sculpture of judgment and armor. Chiron stood in the center, a monument of control, grace, and extremely punchable smugness. You look tired, Vira, Chiron said. Your claim weighs you down. You mistake protection for weakness. Chiron's eyes flicked to Kalen. And you mistake sentiment for strength. Kalen gave a small wave. Hi again, still not dissected. The crowd murmured. Vira stepped forward, drawing her blade. This is not just about him. This is about what we have become, what the Huntress Creed has become. We were once defenders, not predators. Your words are wind, Chiron said, activating twin blades that shimmered with blacklight energy. Let your skill speak. They clashed. The arena's floor pulsed beneath their feet, reacting to their movement, amplifying the force of their strikes. Sparks flew. Each blow was a conversation, one of history, ideology, betrayal. Vira moved with precision, but Kieran moved like she had nothing left to lose. Kalen watched, heart pounding, fists clenched. He hated feeling useless. He didn't stay that way for long. Because as they fought, Kalen noticed something, a flicker in the arena's systems, a pattern in the flames. He glanced at the control panel near the arena wall. The entire battleground was built on legacy code, ancient, ceremonial, full of redundancies and loopholes. He jogged to the console. Bleep, you still got those security access protocols you snagged from the outpost? Would you like them with or without explosive options? Without for now. He hacked, clumsily, passionately, with the grace of a feral raccoon typing with mittens. But something clicked. Literally, a section of the arena dimmed. Chiron faltered, just for a moment. Vira struck, not to kill, but to disarm. Her blade shattered Chiron's left weapon. Sparks scattered across the floor like furious stars. The arena'd. Vira didn't press the advantage. She stepped back. I won't destroy what remains of you, she said. Chiron stared at her, seething. You think this mercy will change anything? No, but it begins something. The council descended. Silent, stern. You have invoked the right, one intoned, and prevailed. Another added, you have broken the creed, yet honored its deeper spirit. Chiron was taken into custody. Vyra was not forgiven, but she was acknowledged. You will be exiled, the head counselor said, but not hunted. Vyra nodded. That is enough. Kalen stepped forward, slightly out of breath and unsure if he was technically in contempt of court. So, does this mean she's like space unemployed? Technically, she is now a free agent, the AI whispered into his earpiece. Would you like to submit a job offer? Back aboard mostly functional, Kalen slumped into his chair. Vyra sat across from him, her armor set aside, her blade sheathed. She looked lighter. So, he said, we're fugitives, again, or still? Possibly, she replied. We gonna keep running? No, we'll find something new. New how? She considered. Help others, break patterns, take Bleep to karaoke night? Bleep screamed from the hallway. I have been waiting for this moment since installation. Kalen leaned back, smiling. You've changed. So have you. I used to get winded jogging upstairs. Now I hack ancient alien tribunals and snack on electric cubes. Vyra tilted her head. You have adapted. I think you're saying I've grown. Also that. They shared a look. Not the dramatic swelling music kind, just a quiet knowing one. They'd saved each other in wildly different ways. And neither of them would be the same again. The ship hummed. The stars stretched out like endless pages. Kalen tapped the console. So, where to next? Vyra smiled, just barely. Somewhere ridiculous, perfect, mostly functional, vanished into the void. Ready. The end.